Have you ever heard the story of the boy who cried wolf? The one where a shepherd boy kept tricking villagers into thinking a wolf was attacking his sheep. He tricked the villagers so many times that when the wolf really did come to attack the sheep, no one believed him, and no one came to his rescue. Sounds tragic, right? Well, imagine that story, but in a modern school, with emergency alarms instead of wolves, and a kid named Blue who learns that honesty is way more powerful than attention. Meet Blue, known for his big imagination and even bigger stories. At his elementary school, he'd turn lunch lines into jungle adventures and math class into space missions. Everyone loved Blue. His stories were epic. But sometimes, Blue's tales stretched the truth a lot. One morning, while the class was settling into their seats, Blue burst into Mrs. Hill's room, wide-eyed and out of breath. "Mrs. Hill, the fire alarm panel is blinking red. I think there's a fire in the science lab. I really think we are in danger." Gasps and panic filled the classroom. Mrs. Hill quickly turned her attention to Blue. Knowing that Blue always has a trick up his sleeve, Mrs. Hill weighed the situation carefully by asking Blue a few questions. Satisfied, she instructed, "Everyone, line up. Let's follow our drill procedures." Walking past Blue, who was kneeling in the passage, the children evacuated the building, something Blue found quite funny as he giggled to himself. The fire department was called in and came right away. But after a thorough check, it turned out no fire, just a flickering bulb. Blue shrugged. "I was just trying to keep everyone safe," he said with a sheepish smile. Mrs. Hill frowned gently. "Blue, it's important to tell the truth, especially in serious situations." Blue listened carefully to Mrs. Hill and nodded in agreement. But the very next week, during PE, Blue ran up to Coach Lopez. "There's a gas leak in the cafeteria. I smelled it." The school locked down the area. Staff checked the gas lines. Nothing. This time, Blue's classmates weren't so amused. "Blue just wanted to skip dodgeball," a student mumbled. "Why should we listen to him next time?" whispered another. That night, Blue sat in his room, tossing a soccer ball between his hands. His heart felt heavy. He remembered his grandma once saying, "Truth builds trust, lies build walls," but he hadn't thought much of it until now. That morning, something strange happened. During lunch, Blue really did smell something funny, like smoke. At first, he hesitated. "No one's going to believe me anyway," he muttered, staring at the utilities room door near the back of the cafeteria. But then he remembered his grandma reading to him from her age-worn Bible, Proverbs 12:22. "The Lord detests lying lips, but he delights in people who are trustworthy." He stood up, heart pounding. "I have to do the right thing, no matter what." Blue rushed to the cafeteria counter. "Mrs. Jenkins, I think there's smoke coming from the janitor's closet. I saw it curling under the door." Mrs. Jenkins gave him a cautious look. "Blue, are you absolutely sure?" "Yes, ma'am, I checked. It's not a joke this time." She called the custodian immediately. Within minutes, staff discovered that a small appliance had overheated and started to burn. The fire was contained quickly, thanks to Blue's alert. This time, there were no sirens, no evacuations, just quiet gasps, as everyone realized how serious it could have been. Later that day, right after last bell, the loudspeaker crackled to life. "All students and teachers, please gather in the auditorium for a brief announcement." The chatter hushed as Principal Rivera stepped onto the stage, smiling. today, something important happened. A student saw a real danger and spoke up, even though he knew people might not believe him. He chose courage and honesty. He looked directly at Blue, sitting near the back of the auditorium with his class. "Blue, would you join me on stage?" Gasps and curious whispers rose as Blue stood. His steps felt shaky, but the applause began even before he reached the front. Principal Rivera placed a small trust pin on Blue's shirt and held up a certificate. "This is for showing integrity when it mattered most. Trust is hard to build and easy to lose. But today, you reminded us that even broken trust can be restored through honesty." The applause filled the room. This time, Blue wasn't smiling for attention. He was smiling with purpose. Afterward, his classmates gathered around him. "Blue, that was really brave. I'm glad you said something. You were right this time, and we're proud of you." Blue beamed with joy. That night in bed, Blue reflected on the day that was. Blue learned that telling the truth, even when no one expects it, can turn things around for good. Being honest builds trust and can make a big difference. Blue still loves telling stories, but from now on, the best stories he'd tell would be true.